Sam Dancer, welcome to the pod. You and your wife were here a month or two ago. It was fantastic. I don't know if I told you this, but when she appeared with you, I was very happy. So I like to talk to Jen by herself, okay? Nothing against you.
Fair.
And I like to talk to you by yourself. Nothing against her. She showed up with you, and for like a split second, I'm like, I wonder if I can do this right now with having Sam here, because she presents a lot of energy.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not some kind of empath. I don't want to pretend like I'm an empath. I kind of want to be an empath. My mother is kind of an empath. I don't know if you think you are or not. I'm not. If somebody, that we were talking to David Adam about something very serious, and I didn't feel like super terrible inside. I'm just thinking about like, okay, I'm listening to like a story that seems tragic, but I'm not going to let that decrease my energy levels too much. But some people I know, have you ever met an empath?
Yeah, I don't know that I would go as far as calling myself an empath. I have the ability to like hold space for myself in difficult times, but also like if someone's crying, I'm probably going to start crying.
Okay.
So I will, yeah, which I guess is empathetic behavior.
It's extremely empathetic.
So,
now, if it's somebody that's very close to you, if somebody who you love so much is delivering bad news about themselves and they're losing it, I could definitely in free fall into a cry, because then you've triggered me.
Yeah. Again, like I said, I can still hold space for myself. I'm capable of emoting, but also being rational still. So like if I start crying or I'm afraid or I'm anxious, it doesn't necessarily affect my cognition, if that makes sense. Where a lot of people, if they start crying, they get into a very irrational kind of state of mind where, I'm sure you've witnessed it before. You're just not thinking straight. So, but I feel like I have the dynamic ability to still be able to, to be sad, to be, to have these emotions, and still be able to have a rational ability about myself.
Have you ever heard the term "watch the thinker" or "observe the thinker"?
Enlighten me.
So, this is something that I'm projecting something about myself onto you. I just think that I don't know how many people do this. So, watch the thinker means you're in a situation, it's either amazing or terrible, or you're just sitting around, maybe you're watching a movie, maybe you're writing, maybe you're doing some type of effortless activity, ranging all the way to much effort. And it's the act of stepping out of your body and observing yourself. So let's say, I know that you're an elite athlete, but we're not gonna talk a ton about that. We're not gonna force that, because you sent me some stuff in a text a couple days ago, and that very first thing that you sent me, we're gonna rocket ship into that.
Right into that. Okay. Go right into the deep end, huh?
We are gonna go right in the deep end on this, because it's very important to me. And you and I talked about it post podcast last time. I was sitting over there in David Adams' seat, and you were sitting here, and I told you a story. And I want to relay that story again that you've already heard, but for the purposes of the pod, because I've got so many questions for you, and I want to hear your side, because we didn't get too far into your side. And I want to hear what you have to say about the deep end.
Let's go.
So, I was a very small child. I was 9 years old, almost 10. And my biological father was dying of cancer. It was liver melanoma. And he was 6 foot tall and about 70 pounds when he died. So that's the balloon hands, the balloon feet, the private parts is a big balloon. And I remember when things got really bad towards the end, my dad started to become very spiritual. And he started to, as his body just completely started failing, his spirit got stronger and stronger. And I was able to see this as a child. And talk about crying. I'm not going to cry about that. Now I can feel, but that's not empathetic on myself. It's just, so I get through this story and then I want to hear what you think about this. So it was September 17th, 1986 at 3:15 a.m. My mother woke me up, and I remember the hall light was on, so I see like this light emanating kind of around her, and she's kind of hovering over the top of me. And she woke me up, and she was smiling, and she goes, "Hey, Frankie, your dad is gone." And I've been waiting for this, not for fun, but just I knew my parents were preparing me for this. My dad was preparing me for a departure. What I believed is the priest and our support group and people were telling me that pretty soon my dad's spirit is going to leave his body. And it's going to go away somewhere. And all that's going to be left is this vehicle, this old rundown pickup truck on the side of the road that's of no use anymore. Mm-hmm. So I walked down the hallway, I walked into the room, and the air was so thick. It was it wasn't humid, but you know how you walk into a really high humidity room and you can appreciate the watery quality of air?
Of course.
Yeah. I walk in there, and I look over in the corner, and my dad, because he was drafted to Vietnam and got the Agent Orange on him, in the early 70s, he had his eye removed. So when I growing up, he always had an artificial eye that he would put in, take out, and it was a party trick for him sometimes. Really gross too. But as a kid, you get used to that as a kid. If you grow up like that, it's amazing what you can get used to. And I looked over at him, but when I looked over at him, I realized I was enveloped. This shock wave enveloped me and was kind of holding me up. And the message that I got by looking over, the mouth is open, maybe one of the eyes are open. I'm painting a picture here with some detail that might make some people uncomfortable, not you, but I was overwhelmed by the entity that was enveloping me and taking care of me. And without this thing, I would have been somewhat kind of virtually destroyed. It was too much for me. Mm-hmm. It was too much for me to lose my father. Yeah, it's too much. It's too much.
A lot for a 9-year-old.
I went to school that day.
Wow.
My mother, I guess he had passed away an hour and a half before, and she didn't call the paramedics right away. The rumor, or the story that my mom says, is that he was talking in tongues. Now, when I heard that as a child, I believed it, and then in my teenage years, in my 20s, I didn't believe that anymore.
Circled back?
I've circled back to, my 48-year-old self says, Frank, you've got no idea what's going on. You've got no idea. We're on this rock, flying around through space, and all of the science is almost unbelievable, and the nature of our reality is almost unbelievable, except I'm starting to believe it. And maybe I do believe it. So this entity that was enveloping me, Sam, there are people that don't know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna use a term, a phrase that you wrote, and I hope that the non-religious aren't turned off by this, and I hope that the non-believers aren't turned off by this. You know, do you see where I'm going here?
Yeah.
You know, whenever you get into this is not a religious conversation. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about whatever it is that we can't see, all the things that we don't know about, all of the light that we can't see, all of the forces that we can't see, that are probably there.
Yeah.
And maybe the Force. In Star Wars, see the atheists can appreciate Star Wars because Star Wars talks about the Force.
Mm-hmm.
How Obi-Wan is telling Luke when Luke's holding the Skywalker. Did you ever watch Star Wars?
You're going to be a little disappointed in me.
You've never seen it?
No, I've probably brushed up against it a few times, but I'm not a big Star Wars guy.
Well, there's
Love
a part,
sci-fi stuff though.
There's a part in there where Luke is handling a Skywalker. He's handling a lightsaber. It's just a weapon, and his mentor is trying to describe about this thing, this force that permeates all things. It permeates all things, and they call it the Force. And George Lucas didn't want to make it a religious thing, and he didn't want to get caught up in the warring of the religions and wanted to appeal to everybody. So he didn't say God. He didn't say the Holy Spirit. He just said the Force. And it's kind of hard to argue with a sci-fi George Lucas movie that is a very popular thing. So what I'm talking about is the Holy Spirit. And I kind of want to ask you, what do you know about it?
I'm curious, would you consider yourself religious or ascribe to any sort of belief yourself? I mean, it sounds like you were obviously...
do you need any water? I'm going to get you some water here in a second. I didn't offer you anything.
Please.
Okay. So, baptized Catholic, went to 12 years of Catholic school, learned the Baltimore Catechism. My parents and the teachers and the priests and the clergy and the nuns and everybody helped to give me the toolbox. I think that's what you get at private school.
Yeah, that's a lot to take in as a pubescent man.
So I don't consider myself to be religious. And I've got a lot of friends way, way high up. You know, I've got friends at the Crossing, Madison Park, St. Peter's, you know, different places. I know a lot of Jewish people that are very spiritual. But I don't know. The difference between, let's put it this way, in Christianity, if we can just separate that out for a second, there's the religion and then there's the philosophy. And a lot of people adhere to the philosophy, not the religion. The philosophy is love your neighbor. The religion is you better go to Mass 51% of the time so you can get the discounted tuition at St. Peter's.
Yeah.
You know?
Thank you.
Or like, thanks, David. The philosophy is try and have communion with God, and the religion says that you have to walk across, you have to get in your car and go to the church at this specific time when everybody's there because they're going to consecrate the bread right in front of you, and you better be ready so you can take it. That's the religion.
Yeah.
So my answer is convoluted, but
I got you.
Where are you?
I would consider myself a devout follower of Jesus Christ. Now, how I've arrived here is a unique story. I, although went to the private schools and was around the Catholic schools, none of that ever really grabbed me, and I wasn't a great student either. I was very disinterested in pretty much all subjects other than art and writing. And any time I was in any other class but those, I would sleep, I would sketch. I was a bad student. So I didn't really ever take any of that education out with me or into me or whatever. I started to get a little curious around the age of 16. I was hit by a jet ski at the Lake of the Ozarks. I was T-boned by a jet ski. And my soul, my spirit, was ejected out of my body. I felt nothing. The impact happened, and I was ejected out of my body. I'm a few hundred feet up in the air, watching everything take place. I can see in all directions. I still have some faculties about myself. I can hear. I've already, expressed that I visually could see things. Could see my body floating in the water. I could see my friends swimming over to me. I could hear them yelling. I could hear them crying. I could hear people from like the bay side of the lake, or that's even the shore side of the bay, of the lake, yelling that they've called 911 and all that stuff. I don't know specifically how long I was out of my body, but there was just like, and I don't remember descending back down into my body. I just remember waking back up, and I didn't have any movement in the lower half of my body. Couldn't walk for a few weeks. Pretty humbling experience.
You couldn't walk?
Couldn't walk. I had a severe hematoma that basically went from like my calves to like my armpits. So I was just black and blue. My mom had to help me, and even I couldn't roll over in bed. But once all that swelling went down, I was able, there was no damage to my nervous system or anything like that. And as far as I know, I didn't break any bones, which is funny. This is kind of off topic. I just learned fairly recently that I broke my collarbone, and I have a malunion, which means the bones didn't align correctly. But I don't know when I broke my collarbone.
Football.
Potentially.
Right.
I have some ideas of some times where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember my shoulder being really sore, but I don't.
So maybe you broke your breaking collarbone is extremely painful. Are you very pain tolerant?
I think you just kind of learn to like shut that like part of you up through sport and training and stuff. The voice, we all have it. It's I always kind of imagine I have myself here in the middle, and then on this side I have this person who's here to keep me from doing stupid things, protect me, make me aware of things to keep me safe. I used to call it something else, it was kind of a demeaning term toward it. And then I have this like tough guy that helps me persevere and overcome and push through difficult things. And it always comes in, like whether if I'm out on a run, I'm doing something really difficult, and this guy over here is like, hey man, this is really hard. You might want to slow down a little bit, make things a little bit more tolerable and manageable. And then you got this guy over here who's like, you got this, and you have me in the middle just like listening to these two. It's like, who am I going to listen to? But I think you just, over the years, I've learned to, because I have the feelings, like things hurt me still. But in certain situations, I feel like I have refined the skill and ability to be able to just kind of defer it and ignore it. But nonetheless, I still very much, now Jenny, that's a whole nother animal. I don't like her.
How
So? We always make the joke that she just doesn't have feelings. For her, she has a full shoulder separation. I don't know if you ever separated your shoulder.
No.
I've had like 1 and 2 degree separations, and they are horrible. They're incredibly painful.
She has one right now?
She has a complete separation. Like, so her collarbone sticks out of the top of her shoulder, and that is the only, besides like your rotator cuff, that is the only thing that like fastens your arm to your body. All right, it's like a hanger for your arm, and hers is detached completely. It's been detached for many, many years. She did it in soccer.
Oh, it's an old injury?
Old injury, and she just pushes through it.
Well, how can she? Okay.
Yeah, wild. She's different. I'm a little bit more. I'm a little bit more sensitive in that. Yeah, I definitely register the things.
How can she do pull-ups?
She doesn't. Sometimes she doesn't even just register.
Okay.
She's special. She's different. But nonetheless, get back to this. That was the first time that I had the idea of not being just my body came to the forefront of my mind, that I am clearly and obviously a separate. I can be separated from my body. I experienced it. I don't believe that it was like a hallucination. I don't believe that it was just some sort of dream state or just being unconscious, and I've been unconscious too. I've been knocked out in football. Completely different. You go to a different place. You go to it's like a dream, really. One of my worst concussions was ironically with my brother Max. He was a guard and he was pulling, and I was a fullback, and I was going straight downhill, and we collided, and I was knocked out. We both got knocked out, and I was in a dream state where I was at McDonald's, and I was having a cheeseburger with my family, and woke up from that, and I'm like, holy cow, what's going football? Like, what's going on? Wow. But it was different from that. It wasn't like a dream. It was I was at the lake, and I was still at the lake, and I was seeing the lake, and I could see my body. And I've had a few other out of body experiences that have happened during exercise. And my thought is that when you get close to death, and I think in some cases the way that I'm training, I'm experiencing what would be for a lot of people like a cardiac event, where like your heart rate is so high that all things considered, the body's like, all right, you're dying, and it starts to you start to depart from the body. I think it must be some sort of natural coping mechanism that we have built into ourselves that comes forth during extreme bouts of stress to protect us, to protect our psyche even. So I've probably had maybe 3 or 4 out of body experiences, and we'll get into the Holy Spirit one here in a second. But I've also had some odd paranormal encounters too. One of my favorite ones to tell is I'm probably 19-ish. I'm in college. I'm home from college, and I'm looking for my mom. I'm in our house. Go upstairs, see my mom. I'm like, "Hey, Mom," and she just walks into the next room. Weird. Mom, she just keeps walking into the next room, and I start laughing. I'm like, "Mom, what are you doing?" Like, she's clearly avoiding me. And then she walks into the third room. She goes behind a door and shuts the door. So she's like, see, I know people can't see this, but that door. So imagine she pulled it toward the wall, and she hid behind the door like a little kid would.
Okay.
All right. I'm laughing. I go over there. I pull the door. No one's there. Hair stands up, freaking out, run downstairs. She's in the kitchen. I'm like, "Mom, were you upstairs just now?" She's like, "No." "Well, I just experienced something, whatever you want to call it. Ghost, demon, whatever, who knows." And I've had a few other encounters like that where I'm visibly seeing something. Not just like, "Oh, I think I heard something. Oh, I just got the chills," type. Not that. I'm seeing something.
Okay.
And it almost makes me wonder, the same way that it seems as if people have genetic predispositions to running fast, dunking a basketball, math, artistic. And let me also specify, because I don't believe that I'm special in any way when it comes to this. So I hope it doesn't come off that way. I just like with running fast, I believe anyone, if they wanted to train it, they could learn to run fast. They might not be the fastest of all time, but I believe we have the capacity to learn and adapt.
They could get much faster than they are. Right?
Yeah, of course. And okay, you never shot a basketball, we can teach you how to shoot a basketball. You think you suck at art, we can teach you the principles and the elements of art. And you might not be the best artist, but we can get you to be a good artist. So I think when it comes to some of this stuff that we're talking about, I have a hunch that I may have some sort of predisposition to this.
Okay.
Because I've had a number of these encounters. I would say upwards of maybe 10. Some wild ones too, but just the mom one works, the jet ski one works, the outer body experiences during extreme exercise works. So all those things had definitely left me with a curiosity, but I never really did anything about it. I didn't I wasn't scouring the internet and ordering books to try to learn more about what I was experiencing. I would just kind of brush it off, tell my mom about it, she's been essentially one of my best friends throughout my entire life. So anything wild that happens, she's one of the first people I'm going to go tell. Had a wild UFO experience in college, first person I told. And
your mom's pretty great.
She is, angelic. She is such a wonderful woman. Love you, Mom, if you listen to this. So say all that to get to what I would say is single-handedly the realest and the most important day of my life. It was about 12 years ago. I'm out running, and I'd been fasting for a few days. The only reason I say that is I think it may have potentially, maybe not, maybe I just have this predisposition to these types of wild encounters. I don't know. I can't verify. I can't prove any of it to anyone.
12 years ago.
Okay. So 12 years ago, I am out running.
Where are you?
I am, where the original Carter's is?
Yes.
I'm just a few hundred meters north past that.
Okay.
And I get pushed. And I was certain that there was someone behind me. As I'm even falling to the ground, I'm looking back, pretty upset that someone has essentially attacked me or pushed me. So I'm falling to the ground, looking back, no one's there. I fall to the ground. I'm stuck in, I don't know if you ever had a full body cramp, but they're quite painful, but I was stuck I was cramping, but it wasn't painful. I couldn't move. My jaw was forced open. I'm on all fours, and I cannot move a muscle. Even if I wanted to, I didn't have the ability to move anything, but I wasn't in pain. And everything went white. It was just an infinite white bubble that I was enveloped in. And I can see through my body. I could see my bones, my muscles, my veins, my nervous system. And it was just me in this white bubble. And this gets pretty far out, as it is it's not already. All right. And I have there's only my language and the proficiency of my language can only do so much to really describe what's happening. But I have this rainbow light rod. That's all I got. That is penetrating my mouth and it is attached all the way down through my body to my groin. And it almost even feels like someone had a grip of my testicles.
Okay.
And in a way of like, don't move. Like, I got you. But as terrifying as this was, I also felt like I had never been safer and I'd never been more loved and protected. So it's a really weird feeling to have to hold both of those.
Okay.
Being terrified, but also feeling as safe as you've ever been. Okay. Very odd. And through this light rod starts to come visuals. And keep in mind, I'm sober. There's nothing involved here. This is just some good old-fashioned training, hitting the pavement, not running. And I start to get visuals. And not only am I seeing, it was three different things that I ended up seeing, but there's also a voice, as clear as we're talking, essentially narrating it, telling me what I'm seeing and what I am to do. And in no particular order, I was told that I was to get married, and it showed me my wedding. It showed me the woman, and this was kind of a funny one. It's not really funny. It was a upsetting one for me, because at the time I had a girlfriend who I loved dearly, very, very sweet lady, and this girl wasn't her. So I pushed back, and I was like, that's going to be a problem. And it was, it just like kind of gave me this like, I'm just showing you, what's up, more or less.
Don't kill the messenger.
Yeah. And, but I vividly remember that, thinking like, that's not going to happen. But, and may I also add, the same way that I saw like my wedding taking place was exactly how it took place. And same for the other things that happened. I was also told to get baptized by David. David was a roommate of mine in college, good friend, still to this day, good friend. And David invited me to church every Sunday for pretty much 5 years. I would respectfully decline on most occasions, unless maybe some food was involved. Saw myself getting baptized by David, which happened out in Colorado. Beautiful mountains in the background, freezing water. I could feel the water. I could feel the coldness of it. And I was also told to go into this building. And the building had this illuminated path to the building to essentially like show me how to get there. Ironically, I wasn't far from it. It happened to be what we know as the crossing now. At the time, I thought I was supposed to go, I thought it was a college at the time. I didn't even know it was a church.
Okay.
So I was like, oh man, maybe I'm supposed to.
Because it used to be, that Madison Park used to be, that location used to be John Wood, right? A long time ago?
Yeah, I believe
so. One of those two.
But either way, I thought it was a college.
Somewhere, they used to be John Wood. One of the churches took it over.
That was like my first thought. I was like, oh, maybe I'm supposed to go back to school, get my master's in art or something like that. And all I got was like, no, not that. But didn't give me any more information other than showing me how to get to this building. So it all pretty much ends. The building is not far, and I know the path now, so follow the path. Went to the building. It was a church. I was like, ugh. Like, church? Like, I'm not interested in church. But because of that experience and what happened to me, I didn't want to know, like, if it could do that to me, I didn't want to know what would happen if I wasn't obedient to the request. And so I was like, well, I guess I'm.
Because the request, okay, interesting, because it's such a serious thing. This is some kind of an authority.
I felt like I had no choice but to do this. And just because I didn't, like I said, if it could do that to me, if it could throw me to the ground and hold me and put that much fear into me, a loving fear too, weird. I didn't want to know what would happen if I wasn't obedient to it. So even though I was kind of like, I had a bad taste in my mouth about church, like a lot of people do, which is so unfortunate. A lot of people's perception and idea around philosophy or theology is unfortunately what they see in people. And we are flawed, human beings. So it's an unfortunate deal that a lot of people are getting what they think is theology and what they think is good philosophy from people when they really there's an actual source for it.
When you finish this part of the story about going to the church, I want to talk about that and dive into that a little bit.
All right, you might want to write a note down so we don't forget.
Yeah, I'll remember.
Okay, good. Steel trap. So, like I said, kind of turned off by the whole church thing. Like I said, as most people kind of are, because you see people making a claim to be a certain thing, yet they, they're just hypocrites. It just came off. I was just like, I'm in a building with a bunch of hypocrites.
Right.
Right. Bad taste in my mouth. Move forward. A week later, I go back to the church, and this happens again. I'm sitting in the very back. I felt so uncomfortable with being at church, I wouldn't even allow myself to sit in the chairs. I felt like I needed to separate myself from the body. Okay. And I sat in the very, very back against the wall. Okay. And I would sit back there and I would stretch and, just kind of, I'd listen and pay attention, but it wasn't really doing much for me. But I was still going. And I have another one of these encounters. It was brief. And the best way I have to describe it is like if you get a Amazon package delivery notification on your phone. Your package is arriving tomorrow. Okay? And the package is referring to this woman that I didn't know. So I get a phone call, and also keep in mind, I'm not, even though that was a profound moment and wild and like kind of life-changing for me, it wasn't always at the forefront of my mind. So even after that, like Amazon package delivery notification, much like you would if you got an Amazon package delivery notification, you would go, oh, cool, my package is here tomorrow. And then you really wouldn't think about it until the package is there.
Right. So
the woman I'm talking about is Jenny, my current wife. An acquaintance, a friend, whatever, knew that she was coming to town in between her soccer seasons, and he knew that I was training people. And he thought that she would be a good fit to come train with me. Gave me her number. I reached right out to her and told her the deal. I was like, hey, we meet here this time if you want to come train. I also offer some free classes out in the park if you want to join that. But if you're a professional soccer player, like, you might be better suited for this. I was training Jack Cornell at the time. He was getting ready for, I don't know if he was already in the league or if he was getting ready for the NFL draft, but I just thought she would be a good fit to kind of roll with that crew. And so I head to the gym, and I have no idea what she looks like. And I'm looking around, and all of a sudden I see, very similarly to how this path was illuminated to the building, it was this golden, it was this gold light. It was just gold light, like in a video game almost. There was a girl who was on an elliptical, and she was enveloped in this golden tube. And in the moment, I was like, oh, shoot. It's like, that's the chick. That's the chick from the vision. I'm like, holy crap, that's supposed to be the girl that I'm going to marry. Get it together, Dancer. Keep it together. I train her for a week. No funny business. All training. Like, take my work seriously. No flirting. No nothing. Like, I coached her. I charged her. Like, I made her pay. She was getting ready to leave to go back to Sweden. I was getting ready to leave to Colorado to go show up at the doorstep of my friend David's house and get baptized. And I was so nervous to share any of this. It's times, and I was nervous to share any of that. I would have never vocalized this for many, many years to many people. I would share probably with some people close to me, but I was like, I was genuinely concerned that I may very well just be going crazy.
Okay.
And I didn't really know what to think of it.
Okay.
Although it's became quite clear when you reflect on it long enough. But I tell her everything. Exactly.
You told her?
Everything that happened.
Well, hold on. How long have you known her?
5 days.
You told her this?
Told her everything.
Oh boy.
All right. And
it's a strong move.
And yeah. And scared to death. I'm like, she's going to think I'm freaking nuts, dude. And she did, kind of, but was more so receptive than I anticipated. And we would do our best to stay in touch, but I was opening a gym. She was playing professional soccer. She was in Sweden. There's like a 8-hour time difference. It made any communication quite difficult. And honestly, even when we would talk on the phone, it never really like went super well. It almost even though she eventually got to the point where she was like, cool, I'm in. Like, you're supposed to marry me, let's do it. Like, we weren't really getting along very well over the phone. It was getting to the point where she was even like, what are we doing? She's like, am I really going to give up my, she owned a house in Sweden. She was loved in Sweden. She had a wonderful career in Sweden. MVP of the league, key to the city, all this stuff. Like, that was, all things considered, that was her home and her life, and she was about to give it up for someone she didn't even know. And both of us would be like, yeah, maybe this is stupid, this is crazy. But either way, soccer season's over. She was going to come home and see her parents anyway. Might as well go see the boy. We see each other. I've only ever been in like long-term relationships. And so I am so nervous to have a new girl around. I don't know how to, there's no game, right? I have nothing. I don't know how to I'm a nervous wreck. And we haven't held hands, we haven't kissed, we haven't been on a date, but yet we've told each other that we're going to get married. And things went rather quick. A few weeks later, we were engaged. A week after that, maybe 2 weeks,
what in the world?
We were married.
I did not know this.
We moved to Ohio, and we started our professional careers together in CrossFit. And the rest is history.
Wow, I did not know
it's wild.
That part of it at all. I do want to go back to this thing that I didn't write down, but
let me just say this real quick. And that was my first encounter with the Holy Spirit. And I know for a fact it was the Holy Spirit because it glorified Jesus. And so although I didn't know Jesus, although I didn't really know the Holy Spirit, again, I felt so compelled to be obedient to this request that I was like, cool, you directed me to this church. This is obviously going to be the place where I come to get my education in theology. And at this point, I started to hunger for it a little bit more because of how radical that experience was, that I went into a feverish self-led attempt to come to know more formally what it was that I had experienced. And I looked in a lot of the wrong places for the longest time. Part of me almost wanted to disprove it. And so and again, the experience itself too, I wanted answers. Like I wanted answers. And it seemed like a lot of more like Eastern religion was doing a better job at painting a picture of that experience. And so I was like going everywhere else but the actual Word of God to try to figure out what happened. Dead end, dead end, dead end, dead end. And eventually it was just like, well, this is the last book left. I'm going to start getting into it. And I've been, head over heels. I would say I was probably like 2 to 3 years of a little bit of wondering, although I'd given my life to the Lord. But I was just, I was kind of, looking for the actual Word of God in the wrong places.
Do you think every person is getting the signal from Him?
I do believe that it seems pretty obvious and apparent to me that we all have that void or that space or the yearning for it. I'm not sure how you feel about it. It seems obvious to me in the sense that just how people are. It seems that they're looking to fill, like we all have like this brokenness or this like space that we have to find a way to fill it so that we can even feel normal. And some people do it with drugs and alcohol. Some people do it through groups or activities, and they keep themselves busy. But yeah, I definitely believe that we all have a receiver and there's a signal being sent. And I mean, I would go out there and say that I would feel like most people have had the questions of like, who am I? What am I doing here? What happens when I die? How did we get here? Like those seem to be pretty kind of standard issued like personal questions that everyone kind of asks.
The reason why I ask about the signal is I know people who, and I don't want to say it in this way because it sounds narcissistic or like back to where like, oh, I think I'm special. I don't want to. It's really tough to talk about these things to people that don't know what it is that I'm talking about. So, for example, I've got this guy in mind right now. I can picture him. I haven't known him very long, but he is borderline atheist or agnostic. So we're on the same page for definitions. So a believer could be any religion, from Judaism to Islam to Christianity to Hindu to the Easterns, the Westerns, that they just think, believe, or know that there is the Creator exists and it's real. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then there are people that don't think that. They are either they're agnostic. Agnostic means that you don't know what's going on, so it's kind of, you're not saying that there isn't a Creator or there isn't a God. There is, there isn't. You just don't know. You kind of throw your hands up in there and you don't know. And then atheist is just saying,
there's nothing.
There's nothing. And there's the
random chance acting on matter, yada yada.
Right. It's just we evolved. We're here. It's totally random. They think that there was nothing, and the nothing produced something, and after the something, it goes back to nothing. It goes from nothing to something to nothing.
Yeah.
That's just hard for me to believe mathematically.
That's a tough one.
Philosophically, it's tough to. That's less of a chance to be real to me than there actually being something.
Yeah.
That we came from something. I want to tell you about this theory that I believe that I invented, but if I go and do the Google search on it, so I call it the bad uncle theory, to where you've got people who They don't know what grace is. They don't, those experiences that you talked about, there are people that have not had those experiences, okay? And it's either because they're not getting any signals, or
I'm glad you're bringing this up.
or they're getting all the signals and they will not receive. So this is the bad uncle. So hold that thought. I call it the bad uncle theory. And here's how it goes. You're a kid and you're going to Catholic school. And all the teachers are telling you that there's a God. I think about my children. My children come home from school and tell me about God. They tell me what they learned. And some of it sometimes blows my mind because my 5-year-old is telling me things that maybe I forgot. So you're a child and you hear people say that there's a God, and then the bad uncle walks in for Thanksgiving dinner. And he's talking about God and talking about God and talking about God, and he's a jerk. And maybe he even does something bad, like really bad, unspeakable things, maybe when no one's looking. And then as you get older, as you're a teenager and you're an adult, you think about anybody who's listening to you and I talk, they're like, yeah, I understand, I respect Sam Dancer. Frank is making a good point here, but I don't feel any of that. I have not had any of those things. I don't believe in God. And you ask that person why? It's because of their bad uncle.
Yeah, why do bad things happen?
Why do bad things happen?
Yeah.
You know, bad things can't happen. If God is so loving, then why do bad things happen? And this is theology. So what were you going to say about that?
Oh, I like your analogy of like the signal and receiving it, and just play this out with me, whether you're a believer or not, but just indulge me if there is a God, all right, and there is good and there is evil, all right, and they're at war with one another, and they both want you, all right. I think if evil is real, and there's a spiritual nature to us, and there is a signal being sent and they're at war, all right? They're at war, all right? So you do anything to win the war, and there's a signal being sent, and we all have this receiver to get the signal. Then if I was a bad guy, I would do everything I could to either disrupt the signal or the receiving equipment. And the receiving equipment being ourselves, our own flesh. Because there seems to be some pretty fascinating stuff going on inside of us, even outside of the spiritual elements. And let's say our physical body does play a role in the reception of this signal. Then if I couldn't disrupt the actual signal itself, I would go to find that receiver and I would disrupt it. And maybe that comes in the form of our health. Maybe that comes in the form of just our culture and putting to the forefront what is important to the culture, thus keeping us just in this rat race, on this wheel, just spinning out and making us completely like incapable, not permanently, but quite difficult to receive any signal if there is one coming. I don't know. I do think our bodies play an important role in it. As you know, I'm a big health and wellness guy. Along with someone who's devout in my faith, and I do think our bodies play an important role, and I think keeping them functioning well may not. I don't know. I can't really verify it, but I do think it plays an important role with being able to receive the signal. So if the receiver's damaged, if or there's not anyone on the line to even listen to the receiving signal, then chalk one up to the bad guys.
I think there is something. I think it should be obvious. It's not obvious necessarily, but it should be that if you're not in tune with your own body, and you're not making sure that your thoughts, your actions, your words, your overall being, because inside the body, and how that permeates out. If you're not doing those things, how in the world are you supposed to receive that signal clearly?
Yeah, well, thank goodness for all of us. And I love always mentioning this too, because for the longest time, my faith hinged on that experience solely. It no longer does. That experience serves me no longer. I don't care about that. I used to cherish it.
Was it a nice launch pad?
Of course. Absolutely.
But you don't need it anymore.
I don't, because I have the Word of God, and I devote time and energy into which I believe is living and breathing, and I get all that I need from that now. Which is so cool for me, because I used to struggle with, it's like, why me? Why did I have this experience? And also even the thought of like, I'm not so sure that I would ever come to know the Lord and have a relationship with Jesus without it. And now that I've spent enough time in the Word of God, by no means am I I think we're all kind of theologians to a degree, but I'm still learning quite a bit. So I don't want to make it seem like I know that book front to back, and everything in it. But everything that I need is in it. I know that now, and I am constantly being spoken to through it. And yeah, a lot of it's honestly really. When I was training for my Ironman, I've over the years I'll do Bible studies, and I'll still get into the Word, but not like I have as of most recently. I was spending a ton of time on a stationary bike, and I bet I made it through the Bible 4 or 5 times.
Are you reading it or
audio?
Audiobook.
Audio.
Do you recommend that?
I do much better when I read an actual physical book, but my eyes have deteriorated so much over the years. I have an eye disease called keratoconus. I was diagnosed with it in college, and all things considered, I'm legally blind. And it's getting harder and harder and harder for me to read.
Can do corrective lenses do anything?
Corrective lenses don't work. My retina's healthy, so LASIK wouldn't do anything. I do have 2 prosthetic corneas that have been surgically implanted into my eyes. I'll show you after the show.
Okay.
But they were supposed to kind of help give a better curvature to my cornea. So my cornea is really misshaped. So imagine like a diamond. When light hits that diamond, light just goes all over the place. So basically, the information's coming into my eye, and then it's hitting all sorts of different facets of my cornea, and it's just blasting information all over the place rather than in just one spot. So yeah, it can make it quite difficult to see, but I can still, if I squint right, I can still see things. But I've gotten much more into audiobooks, and I've found it to be I wouldn't say just as effective, because when you have an audio signal coming in, you have the freedom of your hands, and they can very easily distract you. But on the bike, I don't really have anything else to do. I have nothing else to really distract me. So I find myself on the bike or before I go to bed, able to retain a fair amount of it.
So a couple weeks ago, Rachel and my daughter Press were out and about. Rachel's sitting down, and I'll give you the reveal of where they were. But I'll just go ahead and tell you. They were at a jiu-jitsu gym that Gracie, is it Bara or Baya?
I think Bara. I went there
Bara?
a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I know.
I had a good time.
No, this is about you. This is about you. This story's about you. So Rachel is sitting in the chairs watching Press, and somebody to her right goes, was looking in your. There was this guy who looked like a surfer, you, and so there's some murmuring in the crowd because, I mean, you are kind of a physical specimen, okay, and you made it that way, and maybe you and God made it that way, or maybe your work ethic, maybe there's some good genetics in there too, but you are a physical specimen. You're standing there, and people are like, who is that surfer dude? And your back is to Rachel, and then eventually you kind of turn to the side, and Rachel realizes that it's you. And did you see Rachel that day?
I typically don't see anyone until they're like right here, but yeah, she definitely came and gave me a loving embrace.
Right. Okay, so I'm trying to remember the story that Rachel told me, but I knew that you were there. She was texting me, she said, this is so hilarious. Everyone wants to see this surfer dude get out on the mat because he's just this big, powerful guy, and it's just a really funny thing. But you tried jiu-jitsu a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Was it the first time in there?
In Gracie, yes.
Okay,
probably like my fourth or fifth time like rolling around. So yeah.
Do you want to get into this?
I always thought that jiu-jitsu would be a good like competitive outlet for me once my CrossFit career was over. So it's always kind of been like on my radar, and I'm looking into getting into it competitively.
You are looking?
Yeah,
at getting into
for sure.
It competitively. Okay.
I wasn't planning on competing this year in CrossFit. One, because I haven't been training. The wellness tower has been occupying most of my time and energy, and you have to be able to put in a significant amount of time training to be able to even qualify, let alone go there and do well. And I just knew I wasn't going to be able to give that amount of time to it this year. So I pretty much just decided it wasn't going to happen this year. I'll go. I enjoyed the Ironman stuff last year, so I figured I'd go do maybe an Ironman in like October, November, December, or something like that when the building stuff is settled down significantly. All the construction at that point should be pretty well, completed and done. So my plan, I was going there anticipating getting started with jiu-jitsu to start a competitive, I wouldn't call it career, but just a competitive outlet for me. The qualifiers for the CrossFit Games were the next weekend after my first time going to Gracie. And I was like, hey guys, I'll be back next week. And qualifiers come up, and like I said, I'm not planning on doing them, but Jenny's given me this she's like, Sam, just go do them. Just go do the qualifiers. And there's quite a bit of logistics to get through these qualifiers. You have to have certified judges, 2 of them. You have to have a designated affiliate to be able to perform them at. They have to be video recorded. Just a lot goes into making it happen. So I was like, Jenny, I don't have any judges. I don't have anywhere to do it. She's like, just reach out to some people. Put something up on Instagram. Okay, I'll put something up on Instagram. Nothing was really coming through. And then like a day before they started, a gym out of St. Louis reached out to me, and there he said, shout out to Wildwood Fitness Collective. Reached out to me and they said, hey, we got judges. We have a few athletes who are competing this weekend. We'd love to have you. I hopped in the van, headed to St. Louis, camped out in the van, and did my qualifiers with zero expectation of qualifying. Again, I haven't been training. I have a coach in San Diego, a good friend, Holden Rethwell, that I work with, and texted him. I was like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna do the qualifiers. I'm not in great shape. I'm weak. My conditioning's not good." And it was important for him to know that, so that we could come up with a decent game plan.
That's hilarious. I'm sorry.
I mean, relative to these freak shows that you're competing against,
I know.
Yeah, I'm not. I haven't been training. I really haven't. I get into our gym maybe 3 times a week. I hop on the bike in the morning and answer emails and do phone calls. It's no intensity at all.
Okay.
And we come up with a really solid game plan on all the workouts, have all my paces mapped out, and do the workouts. I executed, for the most part, pretty well on them. There was like 1 or 2 of them where I'm like, gosh, I had a little bit more to give on that, and that always kind of eats at me. And then some workouts where I went for it, and I'd really push really hard, and I'd kind of crash and burned a little. But I didn't care. I was like, I got this building I got to focus on. I don't even care if I qualify. I got so much stuff.
Also, you've won it.
I'm good. I feel good.
You've won it.
I feel good about what I've accomplished throughout my career.
So when Jenny, Jenny's not putting the guilt trip on. She's just looking at her husband saying, you can do that.
I think she just, gosh, if we believed in ourselves to the degree that the people that love us believe in us, we would all do absolutely incredible things. And I think that it was just a product of that. She believes in me, and she loves me, and she knows that competing does bring me a lot of joy. So yeah, she just nudged me, and I was like, all right, I'll do it. And I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave my family. I was weeping. I was crying my eyes out. I was like, Jenny, I don't want to go.
To St. Louis?
Yeah, I don't want to be away from you guys for 3 days.
Okay.
And she's like, you do this every time. She's like, just go. We'll be fine. And I get so worked up about it. Even I made all her meals for her. I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the next 3 days for her, just to try to put my heart at ease for feeling like I'm abandoning them to go do some freaking qualifier that I'm probably not even gonna.
When do you?
It felt like it was going to be a waste of time to me. I'm like,
when do you know if you qualify?
I qualified.
You qualified?
Pending some video review, but all my videos are good.
Oh wow! Congrats.
Yeah. So I don't know what that really looks like.
How many times have you qualified?
This will be my 7th time.
Wow.
Since starting 12 years ago.
So there's different classes in the CrossFit Games.
Correct.
And what age does Masters start?
35 years old.
35 years old.
Yep.
So obviously, and I don't know about how all the classes are. We don't have to get into it. But at 35, so the Masters. So I generally know how old you are. You've won it. Mm-hmm. You've won the games, which sounds impossible to me. I know it's not impossible because you did it.
Honestly, it sounds impossible to me, too.
When I hear myself, when you won the CrossFit Games, I don't know who told. I think Josh Craig texted me, Sam won. I think, and I never told you this, and I think I did cry a tiny bit. Because I think that is not even a thing that can happen. It's the greatest thing I've ever heard of somebody doing.
Yeah.
It's
a cool story. If you're familiar with the year before, I was the top ranked male. I was dominating every event and get to the games and my bicep exploded.
Is that what that scar's from?
Yeah. So it was just really cool to go from the lowest of lows and to feel so ready. And that whole year for me, that was in 2022, the whole year felt supernatural. Just door after door opening, and everything was so easy.
After the low?
This is before the low.
Oh, before the low.
Just everything is so easy. Like just everything was coming so easy to me, and like just even like in all aspects, like my relationship, our finances, my competitive, my training, everything was just like, it was just like happening. So yeah, just it's like I didn't even have to try, and get to the last door, and it just on something that was it. I went to jump up to hang from a pull-up bar. That's it. I went to jump and hang. Think of all the crazy stuff I do, Frank. I can lift 700 pounds off the ground. I can snatch over 300 pounds over my head. Just pull. I can do strap 200 pounds to my waist and do a pull-up. And I go to jump and hang from a pull-up bar, and my bicep just explodes.
Why do you think? Physiologically, why does stuff like that happen? Like, why did that happen?
Gosh,
do you have an answer?
I don't. I tried for the longest time to try to. I have some ideas that have definitely affected the way that I treat myself and I train. My guess is like a hydration issue. That's really all I have. But
you've had worse hydration issues before, maybe, and that didn't happen.
No. So
it's like I was watching the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and there was some wide receiver that was sitting on the sidelines. I don't know. Do you remember this? When somebody in the Super Bowl, there's some guy on the sidelines. He's about to go in. He's getting subbed in, and he's real excited. And he like lurches forward to sprint on the field, and then he just Achilles just rips. I don't remember the name of that player or the team, but I remember watching it in slow motion over and over and over again. And he just goes. I mean, all he's trying to do is run out to the field. He's not trying to catch a ball between three or four.
Not push all of his might into someone. Just run on the field.
He's just excited, and he runs on the field, and then boom, done. In the Super Bowl.
Yeah, man.
So then you go through the lows of that.
Yeah.
And then
come back, win it.
And
then feel like at that point I'm like, I did it. Everything, like I've always wanted. I didn't even care what it was in, whether it was in football or hockey or I didn't care. I wanted to be the best in the world. I wanted to have a world championship. Like I wanted that. I could like feel it. Even throughout all my years, I'm like, it's so real to me. I can feel the weight of a gold medal on my neck. And I would just like dream of that and want that. And yeah, and I felt like it was all, I was at ease at that point. I was like, it's over. I don't have to go chase that anymore.
Is that the reason why before Jenny tells you to go to the qualifiers, why you are just happy not doing that?
Yeah, of course. I don't feel like there's like not that I ever felt like I had to prove something, but I was like I accomplished my goals. Like I don't know that I really have any more, competitive fitness goals outside of like the jiu-jitsu thing, like I said, just to keep me. I always like to have something to kind of train for. It keeps me honest and active. I could get pretty lazy pretty quickly without having just something to train for, something to just stay active in. But yeah, I was like, I just didn't. It was a combination of that and just the work that we have here in Quincy with the Wellness Tower, and it just kind of seemed like too much to try to fit that in. And like I said, you have to devote a significant amount of time to do that stuff, and the time is finite, and I don't have a lot of it right now. There's phone calls that need to be made, there's emails that have to take place, and I got to meet people over at the building, and like it's just nonstop. Right, it's starting to slow down a little bit, but we're getting pretty close to signing all the contracts and getting everything underway. But yeah, it just didn't seem realistic for me to even attempt it, because it would just be a waste of my time.
That's so interesting. What is your general? Are you Are you guys planning on moving the gym into that building?
Yeah, of course. So the first floor, the plan is, so I own a coffee company with my partner, Adam Von Rothfelder. It's called Strong Coffee Company. And we're going to open our first brick and mortar, because it's an online business. So, you just get it shipped to your house. There's no coffee bars for Strong Coffee Company anywhere in the country. So yeah, we're going to open our first brick and mortar location, and this will be kind of like a pilot program to see if we maybe want to get into something like this and have some sort of franchising model.
The brick and mortar here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's going to be our pilot program for Strong Coffee Company, and the goal of that is to kind of keep our special needs athletes integrated into our community, not just our fitness community of Q-Town Fitness, but also the community of Quincy, Illinois. I kind of stole this idea from a company in Amsterdam called Brownies and Downies. They hire exclusively individuals with Down syndrome, and they work a coffee shop. It's a beautiful thing, and I don't know if you can get away saying that here in the States, but whatever. It's beautiful. Line around the building every morning, like just people, and they're not going there for the coffee. They're not going there for the brownies. They're going there to have these interactions with these amazing human beings. And so my plan is to be able to, like I said, keep them integrated in, because they're going to go onto the second floor. We share our gym space with the Dancer Love Foundation right now. Okay. And we love that. We like the intermingling. We like that our able-bodied athletes get to see our special needs athletes and vice versa. And it just fills your heart, man. And that's, I've always had this dream of being able to change I want to change like the world, but just even at least our community. And I want people's heart to be changed the same way my heart's been changed by working with these individuals. And so the plan is to hire them to work the coffee bar. Okay. So you know James Foster. Yeah. Not saying that he's going to be an employee or anything like that, but you're going to be able to come to Strong Coffee Company located at the Wellness Tower in partnership with Q-Town Fitness and have James Foster serve you up the strongest latte you can get in town. And we're getting the systems in place to make this, because I don't only have athletes with like Down syndrome. I have athletes in wheelchairs. We have both physical and mental disabilities in our program. So I want these systems to be very easy and accessible for them to be able to work. So our coffee company is an instant latte that has protein in it, collagen protein. We've basically made coffee healthy. Not that coffee isn't healthy, but the way a lot of people decorate their coffees it goes from like a powerful stimulant to like a fattening, sugar-riddled, milkshake essentially. Right. So we're gonna have the healthiest coffee in town, and coffee that's gonna like actually provide you with good nutrition. It's got protein in it. It's got MCT oils in it. It's got amino acids in it that help kind of dampen the anxiety sometimes that you can get from caffeine. Oh yeah. And so the MCT oils in it help kind of like stretch the effects of caffeine out a little bit longer as well. Oh. So it's a wonderful product. It tastes delicious. We have all sorts of flavors, but our athletes are going to essentially be able to like hit a button. You're probably familiar with like the cappuccino machines in the gas stations. Sure. So those things are dry hoppers that they put mix in, and you hit the button, and then the powder gets added with water, and there's an agitator. Yep, and it serves you, fresh.
And that's what it is. Is it powder and water?
It's powder and water. So if you can make it iced or hot.
Is there any coffee in there?
Totally. Okay. There's definitely coffee. We have honestly some of the best coffee that you can get. Period. A lot of like being in the industry, a lot of coffee has mold issues. whether you're getting it from like anywhere.
Oh.
Like there's a serious mold issue that comes with coffee, and because of the way that we're processing it's mold free because there's no moisture in our product. So and we have all organic coffee. Our team was just in Colombia. We're going to be working with we're going to be basically getting our beans from a different farmer now. We were getting it supplied from Mexico, but yeah, we're going to be working with this family in Colombia, and we use the entire fruit too. So we don't just roast beans; we use the entire fruit. The fruit has some incredible nutritional and supplemental benefits to it.
Okay.
So that gets included in there, and then sugar-free. And delicious stuff. We just dropped peanut butter cocoa a couple days ago. We just came out with an espresso bean. We have a snickerdoodle. We have vanilla. We have hazelnut. We have mocha. We have peppermint.
So this sounds like it's still going to be tasty.
It's
like
delicious.
There's places around town that you can get. I used to make the joke. I don't want all that stuff in there because then I can't taste my coffee.
Yeah, yeah.
So I like coffee. I like it as a stimulant.
It's a very coffee-forward beverage that we have.
Okay.
So like you're definitely getting that flavor coming through.
Okay.
Absolutely. But yeah, I'll bring you a bag.
The next time you come on, can we tackle parenting? How you parent. We're not going to be able to get into it this time.
Yeah.
I want to know how you parent when your daughter says something and you have to correct, or if there's a disciplinary issue, or maybe you have no disciplinary issues with your
We
daughter.
have some disciplinary issues.
Okay.
I think that you don't have to teach a good girl to do bad things. It just seems to come pretty natural to everybody.
Yeah. So next time I want to talk to you about that and what your opinion is on staying inside a state of matrimony. And I'm not talking about marriage.
Yeah.
I'm talking about living inside a state of matrimony. And maybe that's confusing phraseology for some people. It won't be for you. But will you come on again?
Frankie, I love you. I appreciate what you do. I love your voice. I love that you like to, in a healthy way, agitate and stir things up and get people just like thinking. And yeah, it would be an honor and a privilege to spend any time with you, whether we're recording or sharing a cup of coffee.
All right, brother.
Love you, dude.
Same to you. Pleasure.